Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Centennial Rider Kickcast. I am Rasen. I am joined by my regular co-host.
Yeah, it's Fang. We're back at it again at the Rider Kickcast. I don't remember when the previous episode was, but
I don't
here
either,
we
and I
are.
also still have a backlog, and I feel like the smart thing to do is release this one first, and then work our way through the backlog, and hopefully catch
Yeah.
up. That seems smart, and then also will result in like weeks from now, if I'm on the ball with everything. People hearing
Yeah.
us speculate about what Shin Kamen Rider is gonna be like, while having already heard our thoughts on the movie weeks ago.
It's fine. It's fine. We do be time traveling, you know?
Yeah. So, I guess we might as well get into it. So, Shin Kamen Rider came out, which is directed by Hideaki Anno, and then written by Hideaki Anno. I wasn't entirely sure.
Yeah.
But
Hey, I have the Wikipedia page open. Like, it has
so do
everything you need
I.
to know. Yeah.
But obviously this is part of the, I don't exactly know what they're calling it, but like this is the third in a series of Shin re-releases, starting with Shin Godzilla, continuing with Shin Ultraman.
Yeah, it's officially called Shin Japan Heroes Universe, which, by the
That's
way, if you haven't seen the combining mech of Shin Godzilla, Shin Ultraman, Shin Kamen Rider, and fucking Ava Unit 1, like,
Oh yeah, I forgot they
oh,
roped in the rebuild of Evangelion movies into the thing too. That's right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. If you want to hear my thoughts on Shin Ultraman, that's episode 0 of my Ultraman podcast with my friends Red and Mel. Ultra Q, Q-U-E-U-E is a pun on Ultra Q of the TV show. It was just the letter. Anyways, yeah, this is the third of the like live action Shin movies that are taking classic tokusatsu properties and then modernizing them and creating more of like I guess I want to say like pointed and a little bit darker, a little edgier modern reboot. And of course with Ultraman and Kamen Rider condensed down into movie form. Fang, how did you feel about Shin Kamen Rider?
oh boy, Shin Kamen Rider. I mean, I liked it. I definitely feel like this is not one for the non-Kamen Rider watchers out there, because oh boy, there's there's a lot of filling in the blanks that like I feel like can only really be done if you understand like the franchise. Um like oh man, like there's some interesting choices that arise in this film just from like how it's like very dead like faithful to the original Kamen Rider series, cuz I mean obviously Hideaki Anno is a big fan of super OG Kamen Rider, and so you have things like shot for shot recreations of like the original like 1973 series, and like fucking you have remixes of like the old Kamen Rider OST as well, which sometimes feels a little goofy next to some of like the newer tracks for sure. Why is there a Lotus Juice track in this movie, by the way? Like, I know it's Taku Iwasaki. Like, this happened in like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like part 2 as well, but like it's so fucking weird, like seeing Kamen Rider on his damn motorcycle and like Lotus uses like squeezy trigger or whatever the fuck. I don't like. L to the G.
See, what's interesting to me is that I almost wish it was more faithful in the actual story. Now, granted, unlike you, I have not read the Kamen Rider original manga, and I do know that this is kind of playing with that stuff in a way too, in addition to the TV show stuff. But I know from how far we are into the TV show and seeing this movie, I know for a fact that these one-to-one cannot line up because of major differences that they make to certain characters and how certain plot threads go.
Oh, absolutely.
I almost wish it was closer to the TV show because there's a point in this. So I guess my major takeaway from this movie, that in terms of being a little bit disappointed, overall I think it's all right. I think this is a fine movie. I think I like it the least of the 3 Shin reboots that they've done. But they really sold this movie on the idea that Shocker was, or this version of Shocker was going to try to control people by having them find happiness or making them happy. Like, that was their angle. And what I thought we were going to explore is that idea of, kind of talking about modern right-wing tactics for radicalization and getting people into the fold and trying to appeal to, like, don't you just want, like, a nice, peaceful, traditional society, like that sort of stuff or whatever. Instead, what we got is Anno staring directly into the camera and going, what if to make everyone happy, everyone's souls was one collective consciousness? I was like, God, you can't do this again. You've done this too many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the fucking habitat zone or whatever the fuck it's called comes up and they explain what it is, I died on the inside. I was like, what?
What?
No, you can't do this.
Yeah, no, there's several points like that in the movie when they start, like, doing lore dumps. So I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what? Prana? What? Huh? Huh? Dude, what are you cooking?
That
right
prana
now?
thing is entirely new, right? Like, that... Was that in the manga? Okay.
No, it is very much not in the manga, I assure you. Like, anything that sounds, like, vaguely mystical, like, that's a holy movie thing. Like, the original manga and the TV show, they were always, like, grounded in, like, some sort of biological science of some sort. And here we have, like, fucking, like, the fucking other world, I guess. Like, with, which, like, I guess in some ways is, like, a little more, like, modern Kamen Rider to some extent. You have some magic-based writer series, mystical writers that is a little more in line with that sort of thing, but it's still very, very, very odd. Very odd. Like, like, I guess, stepping back a little, like, if I were to describe, like, the movie's take on, like, Kamen Rider, it's definitely, like, some weird in-between of, like, the TV show, the manga by Ishinomori, and, like, fucking whatever the fuck he was cooking in Evangelion with the whole collective consciousness shit. Like, cause, I mean, whenever you get to, like, actually reading the manga, like, the structure of the film is, like, fairly similar to, like, how the manga chapters have it, cause, like, the manga, there's, like, 6 chapters, and, like, the first 3 are, like, from Hongo's, like, point of view, and then the second half is, like, Ichimonji, or Hayato, and in that regard, there's also some plot beats that are, like, pretty similar, like, the first couple of fights being, good old Man-Spider, and, Batman, and...
I think you
among
mean
other
Bat
things.
Og because someone was like, we cannot do this anymore. We will be sued.
True. Like, oh man. Like, but yeah, like when they start, they like okay, like definitely some of the main differences too is like how like the characters are used, because uh I mean like I feel like okay, so getting into the characters, right? Like there's a bunch of characters that are like carried over from like the original show and manga. Like obviously you have Takeshi Hongo, who is in this iteration a college student. He was
he was in college in the original show.
yeah. See, my brain was thinking of like Kamen Rider Kuga, where like he's referred to as like a professor. I was like, I got confused for a moment. Um, no, like, yeah, you have Hongo, who I feel like in this movie like is a little more of a normal guy. Like in the original show, he's obviously like, oh man, he's so fucking smart. Look at his like big IQ and everything. And I feel like in this one, the characterization of Hongo is like, oh yeah, I really love bikes. Like I just like riding around. Like maybe I missed some exposition that's otherwise, but like um I feel like in some regards the movie kind of I guess the running thread of my thoughts on the movie is that it definitely focuses on very specific aspects of Kamen Rider that like I feel like conceptually I appreciate, but maybe in execution would have worked better as a series, Um,
I honestly, I kind of wish they gave this dude like a 12 episode run at something because
yeah.
an issue. So something that me and my Ultra Q friends talked about when we covered Shin Ultraman is, I mean, overall we liked that movie too, but boy does it feel like 3 episodes of Ultraman stitched together into a movie. This feels like half of 7 episodes. Like if you took 7 episodes of a Kamen Rider and then you like cut them down to a highlight reel and then stitched them all together into a movie, because we just go from place to place to place to like new enemy to new enemy to new enemy, and I there's just no room to breathe except for like when the big tragic thing happens, and when that happens, I actually think that works pretty like that works pretty well for me. We probably should just say it by now, but this is probably just gonna serve us better if it's a full spoiler discussion.
Yeah.
I should have thought about that before saying the main villain's motivation, but yeah. But when spoilers, this is your last warning. When Ruriko dies and she gives her last message in the helmet for Hongo to just kind of dwell on and have a good cry at the sunset. I like that a lot, and I wish that we had more time for stuff like that in the movie. There's also that little bit where they're at the hideout and they're kind of bonding a bit. And there's just this weird thing, and I'm sure that this was partially intentional, but it feels like for the main character, Augs, we don't see a lot of their human side until later on in the movie as we get to know them better. Whereas with the enemy Augs that typically like in the original show were like the monsters of the week or whatever, their personality is pretty forefront, and then as the heroes rub up against them, you immediately start to see their monstrous side, like as soon as that personality, that human side flakes off. And there's kind of like an interesting dichotomy there. That being said, I don't think we get enough of the human side of Ruriko or Hongo. Hayato gets a little bit more, it feels like, but even then,
Yeah.
I just wish that we had just a little bit more of them being people. Like Kamen Rider, the show, there's a lot of episodes that focus on like, oh, everyone's hanging out or doing their hobbies, like the racing stuff or, science stuff happening with like Hongo being really good at doing science stuff and all that. And just a lot of that is gone from this, and I ended up missing it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Like, that's why it's, okay, like, tangent. Like, when I think of, like, the various, like, Kamen Rider, like, game adaptations that have been done over the years, I've always, like, ever since I've thought of, like, the idea of, like, having, like, oh, was it, like, a Yakuza style like Kamen Rider game, I get so sad because like part of like watching like a Rider series is kind of that balance between like what is it, like the slice of life drama bullshit versus like the tokusatsu fights. Like there's like a balance there that I feel like people who like are really into like just like the tokusatsu side tend to like ignore in favor of, like,
Which is wild because the whole tragedy of Hongo is that he was just a regular fucking. Well, okay, he wasn't a regular fucking guy. That's why they took him. He was just. Well, he was a dude who was good at a lot of things. But he doesn't want to be a fucking like super duper strong cyborg, and there's a tragedy to that he's been forcefully transformed and he now has to use this unwanted power to fight fascism.
Yeah,
and
like,
we just kind of get the fascism and the mopey bits, but not like the regular life stuff to make that moping feel highlighted in a way.
yeah, right. Like this film definitely feels like, oh man, like we had to cram this into like 2 hours. Like we'll just like make a lot of exposition for like the emotional meats and then have a lot of focus on like the fight scenes because that's what the real Kamen Rider fans are here for. Yeah, rubber suits and punching. Pa. Speaking of rubber suits, I know there's like a bunch of other character stuff we could talk about, but first, some of those effects, man. Like when Kamen Rider
I'm so
jumps
happy
into
the
the
phone
air
was
and
back.
yeah, I think it's so silly that like the foam is back in like full force for like not only like one or two like scenes, but like throughout the entire film, and like they have like a whole like
the big
lore
emotional
justification
deaths
for
happen.
it. Yeah. Like that's what I mean when I say like this film is like really like accurate to like the original to a fault sometimes, because like man, like when Ruka dies, it's so sad. It's like, oh man, she's dead, and then she fucking fades into like fucking soap bubbles, and it's like, oh shit, come on, I can't deal with this, man, I can't deal with this. Like, holy shit, man, like, oh,
I respected that they had that and the blood geysers for when Kamen Rider was just beating people's faces in.
Oh, see, like, I love, like, the fucking ketchup explosions that, like, when he's smashing heads, like, that was pretty good. But, yeah, I was like, oh man, the fucking foam. Like, something like that I would have, like, expected to be just, like, like a one-off thing for, like, Spider Og or whatever, like, as, like, a little wink, but nah, like, just fucking full in, like, yeah, it's the prana that turns them into fucking soap, dude, like, oh, man, like, also, like, there's a lot of, like, crazy, like, CG action scenes that, like, when I say crazy, I mean, like, crazy in, like, a clinically insane way. Like, Kamen Rider in this film does like really like insane amounts of like fucking backflips and like spinning and like just like, you know what I mean? Like,
all the rider kicks are cool as hell.
Yeah. They are. Sometimes the CG looks a little rubbery and like a little goofy sometimes when I really think about it.
There's two places where the effects bothered me. one, I don't know who decided to when dark Kamen Riders come in for that like Advent Children fight sequence. Some of those shots are so fucking dark that I was like, I don't know what's going on even.
Like it's so like it's super dark, and like that scene specifically, and I've read a lot of like people complaining about that scene specifically, and like I kind of agree. Like it's cool for like the shots in which like their eyes are glowing, and so that's like the only thing you really see in the scene. But like I don't know, that could have just been like the very start of that scene, and then like actually have lighting when they're fighting. I don't know. Like
yeah. It and like I know part of the reason they probably did that was, you know, sometimes you can use darkness to kind of make things look a little bit better, a little more real, but just like there was choreography happening, and I was like, first of all, everyone looks the same. Second of all, it's dark as shit. It was not a good recipe for that. But that being said, when you could see what was going on, I was like, holy shit, who lent Anno a copy of fucking Advent Children? I was losing my mind. There's a lot of really like middle school cool motorcycle combat bullshit going on in this movie that I appreciated. The one other thing where I was like, oh, I don't know if I would have done it like this was when Hongo and Hayato start to have DBZ style like air fist fights, and it looks so bad.
it looks so silly. Like
and like not even really in the endearing way. It was just kind of like, oh, this doesn't work.
this looks really goofy. No, like when I saw previews of like this movie and like the two Kamen Riders doing the fucking DPC fights in the air, like I did not really know what to expect from this film. Like, cause man, like that shit is so goofy. Like I mean, I still enjoyed it, but like it's so silly. Like there's like I don't know if it's because like they didn't want to do like, because in the film, right, like they have a justification for why they're doing like fucking DBZ fights, and it's like, oh, you don't want to destroy the environment, huh? Good on you, buddy. Like, yeah, sure, but I'm like, so weird. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah, I do like that Hayato broke Hongo's leg. That was a fun little, like, again, one of those things where it's like, oh, you get a lot more out of this if you've seen Kamen Rider or you know about Kamen Rider stuff, but it's like, oh, that's a good little legacy, like, nod.
Yo, speaking of Hayato, like, I feel like from what I've seen of, like, the reception to the movie, like, everyone kind of universally agrees that Hayato, good in this movie.
I like him a lot. They did a really good job of... He's more serious than the Hayato from the show, but that side of him is still there. And he has that little bit of, like, fuck you guys or whatever, and doesn't even agree to work with the government till, like, right at the very end. He's like, well, guess someone's gotta fucking do it. Might as well be me, sort of thing. But I enjoy how much of his attitude is toned down but still there enough that it's like a defining part of the character. I think they did a really good job writing Hayato in this. Like
I think it's a very good modernization of his original character for sure.
We still need to get through that original TV show, but this is making me wonder what it's like when Hongo does come back in the TV show, because I feel like they'd have to play those two off of each other, right?
Yeah, for sure. Also, yeah, speaking of modernizations of characters, how about Ruriko? She had a lot of really different stuff going on in this movie compared to like the TV show or the manga, for that matter.
I don't know how. I feel I wish I got more from Ruriko. I think that they gesture at stuff when they have the Wasp Og and her feelings on that. I think the stuff around that is interesting, but they don't do enough with it.
Yeah. Like, I think it's an interesting direction to take the character, considering, like, Professor what's his face? Midorikawa?
Yes.
Like, yeah, like, considering, like, yeah, in the original he was, like, technically working for Shocker, albeit maybe not against, like, his will, or, like, of his own free will, but, like, I think tying in Ruriko into Shocker is a very interesting take that I think made a lot of sense. But definitely, yeah, like, there's some aspects of it that's a little undercooked because, again, time, breathing space, not enough.
Yeah, and it bummed me out because it ends up just feeling like she's there just to kill her off to make Hongo sad.
Yeah.
Which sucks because the bits of her personality and her motivation that we do see, I did think she was pretty interesting. And also like the villain has more shit to do with her than with either of the riders.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't really, I don't know. I feel like there is a TV show version of this movie where I like her a lot. But
yeah,
within the movie itself, I'm like, yeah, she's cool, but I don't feel like I got enough.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, which, again, unfortunate, because, when she is alive, she is pretty active in, like, the story, and again, has a lot to do with, like, the main antagonist, so, like, it would have been a nice addition to the continuing trend of Kamen Rider treating their female characters a little better, but, what you do. But, yeah, moving on from that, though, what else is there? we don't have, like, a structure or anything. We're just kind of spitballing things.
We just kind of hopped out of call and we're like, yeah, we should fucking talk about Shin Kamen Rider because we both saw it.
Yeah.
This movie made me want to watch Robot Detective K.
Oh yeah. What an interesting cameo choice. Like,
well, like, it's weird because like, this, pardon my ignorance of Robot Detective K, this beloved franchise that clearly everyone knows about in the West. But he doesn't work for the fucking Nazis in his show, right? Like, he was it.
I'm pretty sure no. Like, okay, no, sure. I'm looking this up. Robot Detective K, is Robot Detective K a Nazi?
Because they do that. And because I knew that I had seen, like, on Twitter people be like, oh, this hero from this other tokusatsu show has, like, a role in Shin Kamen Rider, and I didn't realize, like, oh, he is, like, an observer for the villains organization. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, if you would think that, like, the first thing you would think of if you were like, oh, let's bring in another beloved Ishinomori classic character is, oh yeah, Robot Detective is investigating Shocker or something. Like, it would have been, like, kind of a odd cameo, but that seems a little more in line. No, he's a Nazi, I guess. Cult Nazi robot thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not a fucking Nazi in the original. That doesn't sound very Ishinomori of him.
No. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, there's in general, like, there's, like, a very, like, underutilized thread of, like, oh yeah, like, the great leader, there is no great leader, he's dead. Instead there's, like, fucking AI that's like running everything behind the scenes, and like it like they have like one like thing of like exposition in like the middle of the film about like, oh yeah, there's like AI KJI or whatever. They're like multiple letter
Yeah,
AI.
they're all like a one
Uh,
letter thing.
yeah, and like that I don't think it's very relevant at all to the film. Like I'm pretty sure. like
No, and I wish it was, because I actually thought the idea of like, oh, the shocker leader is an AI, and who knows? Maybe that's the case in the show or the manga. I don't know, but I thought that was an interesting like spin on it. Like, oh, the great leader that is like this mysterious like non-physical entity imposing its will on everyone in the show. Like, you only ever see him as that symbol with like the little stupid light up like beacon thing when he talks. The idea like, oh, he's not even a person, he is a program that some rich asshole made and then shot himself in the head and left it as everyone else's fucking problem, I thought was really interesting. And then he is not the central antagonist at all, it's some fucking guy with a stupid plan.
Yeah, like, and to be fair on this specific plot point, I feel like it's more of like a manga homage than anything else, because I won't get too much into the details just so you can read it yourself, but there is stuff involving the government and like the antagonist being like AI slash machine that's like is touched
Okay.
upon in like the last chapter of the manga. So I feel like it was more of like a riff on that than any more so than anything else. But like, yeah, they don't do really much with it like in the actual film itself, which, unfortunate. Um
I also, and part of that is so that they can end, and I'm conflicted. I like the majority of the ending of this movie. Like, I think
yeah.
them having just a sad, pathetic, like, everyone's crawling on the floor slap fight rules. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
like I've heard things about like I haven't seen like any like doc was it because there is like documentary or like behind the scenes stuff about like Shin Kamen Rider that sounds very like oof when you hear about it. Like apparently like that last like fight scene, like was it I'm trying to remember the details of it, but basically, like, they were really struggling with that particular scene where, like, they originally had, like, some actual, like, stunt coordinator, like, doing the final fight scene, and then Anno was really dissatisfied with it, so they didn't go with that, and, like, just redid the whole thing. And I guess in classic Anno fashion, like Anno just did not show up to sets to like direct or anything, so like that whole fight scene was kind of improved by the actors without any coordination. Something
oh,
along those
interesting.
lines. But
It
like
gives it a unique feel, though. I actually feel like that might work out in its favor in a way.
yeah, like I've seen some people like not like that scene, but like I feel like and at least from my perspective, coming off of like something like the fight okay, like in Kamen Rider Kuga, for example, there is a fight scene at the very end that's like kind of in a similar vein to like, oh, two dudes just like fucking punching the shit out of each other in like a really like visceral fashion that like I feel like in this film like I can also kind of appreciate in its own way. Like it's not like cool in like the sense that like, oh man, like fucking Kino backflips or whatever, but like
No, but it communicates this like emotional truth to the scene of it's like everyone's here like a weird half like human, half animal, like cyborg thing, and everyone's sad and tired and like nobody wants to be here. like it
yeah.
and then when you do get like the siblings communicating through like her like lingering will in the helmet and all that, and like they all decide to like, okay, our time here is done, we'll entrust the future to Hayato, like that all hits pretty well for me. um Hayato agreeing, like, okay, yeah, I'm going to continue the fight against Shocker. I owe it to the people that got me here. And then you get the reveal that he can still talk to Hongo, and I'm assuming Ruriko and probably Ichiro as well, through the helmet, and he's like, go faster, let me feel the wind, and then he speeds off. Like, genuinely, I think all of that stuff fucking rules.
No, that scene, like, let me feel the wind, like, that's so good. Like, that's definitely, like, a strong point in the movie. Like, ooh.
That said, those two guys turning out to be Tachibana and Taki, I think kind of sucks. If they
like
I
that
wish they
one
had more of a role in the movie then, as like guys.
Yeah,
again,
like,
going back to like the lacking like the human side of things, like Taki and Tachibana in the show, and I'm assuming in the manga too, are like friends who like hang out and like do stuff and like help, you know, give the leading characters someone to bounce off of, and their personalities add a lot of flavor to the stories being told. And here they're just government assholes, and it's kind of boring.
Like if you did not have like those name drops, like I wouldn't have guessed that they were Taki or Tachibana. Like that those name drops really feels like Anna wanted to have like a little soy face moment at the end for the true fans, you know? Like, oh my god, it was Taki and Tachibana all along! Soy! Like, you really didn't have to do that. Like, if you're gonna do that, like, at least go all the way, man. Like, actually, like, I don't know, have them act like how they kind of were in the show or something. Like,
this is something, so this is just the fate of every mecha fan that, like, watches Evangelion, then watches a shit ton of mecha stuff that wasn't, like, inspired Anno, but then also, too, like, me going through Ultraman now, and, like, understanding how much of that had an influence on Anno, too, and having seen Kamen Rider, and then seeing his take on Kamen Rider, like, something that frustrates me about Anno is I really think I appreciate that he's making all of this stuff with an obvious love of cultural stuff that came before, and he wants to give it credit. I also just think the way that he tries to implement or replicate that stuff in his work feels distracting to me in a way that can get kind of annoying, and I, like, genuinely, I think Shin Ultraman did a better job at it, and I'd even say Shin Godzilla, where it's like you have the spirit of this, and like sometimes you have like direct references and stuff, but it can feel distracting or overbearing in a way when Anno does it, and I can't exactly place my finger on why, but I do think kind of you hit, you know what, Fang, I think you actually kind of hit the nail on the head, where it feels a lot like he's playing with these toys and he's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I did this thing? And it's like,
yeah,
I wish you maybe gave a little bit more care and consideration into how this fits into the story you want to tell, and maybe reworked it or workshopped it a little bit more to make it feel more natural.
Yeah. Like, and like, I think it's like kind of unfortunate like the execution comes out this way, because like I feel like with like a little bit more restraints and refinements, like I do like a lot of like the reimaginings that Anno has in like Shin Kamen Rider. Like, for example, I think one really like one thing that like took me a while to like really understand about Anno's vision of Shin Kamen Rider is like I wasn't really sure like why Shocker was repurposed into like a cult for like happiness. But like actually like watching like the movie and what it focuses on, like it clicked to me that like, oh, like I think what Anno's trying to do is highlight a very specific aspect of Kamen Rider, which is that being Kamen Rider is sad. Being Kamen Rider is depressing. You lose your humanity and everything. And like having that be contrasted with like the villains being obsessed with happiness versus like Kamen Rider sadness, I think is like genuinely like thematically like clever in a way that I really wish, like you said earlier, that like they really explored like the cult slash like propaganda angle a little more, because like that would have made like that sort of like whole dichotomy and ideas for like the themes a lot stronger, and you know.
Like, honestly, I feel it's frustrating because I feel like a lot of our gripes with this would just be solved if there was just more of it. If there was more of this world and we had time to breathe a little bit, like, I think I would have liked this. Again, I feel like tortured, like, bringing this up all the time. I want to criticize them, but I like this movie all right. But god damn, do I just wish that we had more fucking time to breathe and just dwell on things and explore different things that Anno's putting up on the screen there. It just constantly feels as though we're moving from one scene to another and we just don't ever get a chance to sit down, really. And again, the one scene, going off of what you're talking about with Hongo being fucking sad, the scene where he just breaks down and has a little cry, I think is one of the best scenes in this fucking movie, along with like the Feel the Wind.
Yeah, it really is. Like this
that
film, like, yeah, oh yeah, no, like, what was Hongo's actor's name again?
Sosuke Ikematsu.
Yeah, he really sells it. Yeah, like it's such a good scene, and like I feel like in general, like the direction and like the movie, Anno is like strongest at directing these scenes when it's like these like very emotional, like somber moments compared to like some of like the fight scenes, which sometimes can be a little scrappy, you know.
Also I decided to click through to some of these actors' Wikipedia pages, and the guy who played Ichiro, the antagonist, before this, earlier this year, he was in a movie called Mountain Woman, where he played the role Mountain Man. And then in 2019, he was in a movie titled I Was a Secret Bitch.
The secret bitch of Shocker. Very, very cool. But
I can't think of anything else I really have to say. I like that we... I like that we... How do you feel about the Scorpion Og scene?
Oh, that's like, that feels like a scene in which, like, Anno is like, I want to bring back the sexy Shocker woman, but I don't know how to do it.
I forgot
right,
they existed, and I was like,
oh
yeah, the fishnet ladies that never did anything except walk ominously towards the screen.
Yeah, like, they came back, for whatever reason, just to die, I guess, but, like, they're there, yeah, wink wink, nudge nudge, like...
I do appreciate them showing, like, no, with enough guns you can take down one of these, like, they're not invincible.
Yeah, like, I did like that scene, like, I think it was a good, like, what is it? It does give a little bit of, like, variety to the otherwise standard formula of, oh yeah, Kamen Rider beats up the augment, and they die. Woo. Oh man, speaking of the augments, like, the character designs, for the movie, generally across the board, pretty good. Yeah.
I like the chameleon one a lot. Or sorry, chameleon mantis. That's important. He's very proud of the fact he's two insects and not one, or two animals and not one.
Yeah.
I'm curious, because I'm fine with it, but I'm curious how you feel about it. Do you think that the Kamen Rider 1 and 2 designs are too close to the original? Do you wish they were more different, or are you fine with them being, like, the same? Because I was like, that's fine, but I was kind of like, I wonder what it would have looked like if they tried something a little bit more stylized.
So, So here's the thing, is that, like, I'm fine with it, and this is only because I know, like, the design process for the Kamen Riders in this film. A lot of it had to do with the fact that they already made a reimagining of the original Kamen Rider suits, and that is in Kamen Rider the First and the Next, which is the first attempt at doing a modern reboot of the original franchise that was done during the...
Is that the 90s one that also used to be called Shin Kamen Rider, but then everyone decided we can't call it that anymore because this one's actually called Shin Kamen Rider?
Okay, wait, no, not that one.
Okay.
My mistake. It's a pair of movies that were done during, like, I want to say 2005, 2006. It was during the Kabuto era. Like, the actor for Hongo in, like, Kamen Rider the First was in an episode of Kabuto as, like, a cameo. But yeah, they already did, like, redesigned suits for that movie of the original Kamen Riders 1 and 2, and when they were designing the costumes for this Shin Kamen Rider, they were like, oh man, this looks too similar to, like, those ones when they were redesigning it, so they just went back to basics for this one, which I think is fine.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay. Yeah, the one I'm thinking of is called Shin. I guess the name in English now that is Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, which is not going to be confusing at all.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, when Shin Kamen Rider was first announced, everyone was having a field day with that instantly.
I can't believe they made a prologue movie and then 30 years later made the actual movie.
Yeah, it's crazy how the original Shin Kamen Rider doesn't even show up in this one. Like, even though he was in the prologue.
Oh,
like,
he's like a weirdo. He's like a bugman in this one. Holy shit.
Yeah, no, like, the original Shin Kamen Rider, like, he's a little fucking freak, man. Like,
this, like, gives me Guyver vibes. I hate how I'm, like, Guyver fan seeing second tokusatsu for the first time. He's like biomechanical though. That's Guyver to me.
Yeah, no, Shin Kamen Rider Prologue. That's just straight up, like, that's a mutant, man, right there. Like, it's just straight up monster. But yo, speaking of monsters though, I feel like, how do you feel about, like, the Bat Augment? Like, just being, like, this really fucked up looking dude. Like,
I thought that was fun. I was at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit sad. It's like, oh, he's just a weird, quirky old man instead of because, like, in the show, if I recall, like, he is one of the, because he's episode 2, right? I think.
Yeah.
But, like, there's, like, an element of horror to him. Like, they shoot him in darkness a lot. Like, people are falling off buildings. Like, there's, like, a lot of, like, terrifying imagery around the Batman and Kamen Rider episode 2. So at first I was, like, a little bit sad that that's gone, and then he was like, I love epidemics. You remember COVID movie viewing audience? Yeah. And I was like, okay, no, this guy's pretty sick.
yeah, I really felt that one too. Like, oh man, epidemics. Like, I was just sitting in, like, the theater with all the other Kamen Rider nerds and, like, in the darkness, going like, yeah, I wonder where Anno got this one from.
How is? So I know this is going to be different between Wisconsin and California. I had, like, a pretty significant turnout for my theater. How was yours? Pretty full?
Oh, same. Like, mine's is, like, I wouldn't say, like, packed, but, like, it was definitely full looking, if not full.
Mine was, like, a little less than half. I was shocked that there was that many people. But again, I was kind of surprised too that Shin Ultraman had as many people as it did.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I live in a bustling urban city, you know, so, like, I expect there to be at least enough people out there to be watching the movie. Someone came in with their fucking Kamen Rider double belts, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the real shit right here. This is why my coworker made fun of me for coming into this theater for Shin Kamen Rider.
There is a guy that I'm 95% sure was wearing a premium Bandai Kamen Rider hoodie or jacket thing that I had seen before.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep.
I bought the Shin Kamen Rider Pumas, so fuck me. The colors are nice.
Yeah. Oh man. What were the other augments in the movie? There was like there was spider,
Mantis,
bat,
spider, bat, wasp.
wasp,
The wasp,
scorpion.
the wasp bit I feel is the one that I feel the weirdest about because, like, I feel like you can't take that one out because so much of Ruriko's character comes through, but also I don't feel like
Right?
enough of her character comes through.
Yeah, like
I
which
thought
like it all comes back again to like not enough breathing space because like Wasp could have been like a good point in like tying in more of like Ruriko's like backstory with Shocker and like just the whole in general like oh man like these people were raised in like a cult and how that could fuck up like their mentality on like happiness or whatever like there's a lot they could have done there in that little arc that they had in the movie, but not enough time. We gotta fight. Die, I guess. You know?
I know it looks kind of dumb, but I liked how the flash step katana duel was shot.
Yeah.
It's goofy, but I had a good time with it.
Yeah. It's fun. It is fun. Yeah. But yeah, also like the tone of that was like really what was it? Like when Wasp gets killed by the fucking Taki or Tachibana, one of the two shooting her with like the scorpion gun, like, and Ruriko's like, "Why do you do that?" And then like one of them is like, "No comments." Like the fucking theater started laughing. Like, no comment. Like.
Oh, the random sporadic English in this is fucking incredible. I love it so much.
Oh yeah, like oh, it's really something. Like there's a lot of like goofy one-liners that gets thrown around in this movie that like I mean I have fun with it, but definitely like tonally it's like sometimes it's a little weird, but you know, I think it's just a contrast between like the goofy like, hey, original Kamen Rider was a kid show, and like, oh, shocker heads exploding into blood, blah, like, but also fading into foam, but bubbles, like, like, this film is a land of contrasts, really. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
And another thing that I think, and I hate to keep comparing these two, but also like it's the most obvious comparison in the world. Shin Ultraman, when they have to cut from scenario to scenario, it feels like a proper escalation where it's like the first guy that shows up is an alien who was sent there on the orders of another alien. So then like you kill the first guy who's trying to like fuck over humanity, and then you kill his boss, and because they don't kill him, but like they fight with him or whatever, and he fucks off, and because of that you get like it like caused the final antagonist to start paying attention to the conflict. So there's like a nice A to B to C where you can see why all of these lead to another. Whereas like 2 times in this movie, I'm just like, oh, this is fun coming out of nowhere. Where the first one is, oh, all of these government guys died, but no, wait, we have to waste 3 minutes explaining how they're not actually dead. Their souls are just gone forever, so they might as well be dead. I didn't need that, by the way.
yeah.
And like, oh no, my brother's awakening. And then also, too, just, like, as much as I like Hayato in this movie, they don't necessarily do the greatest job seeding him he just kind of fucking shows up halfway through, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that was partially on purpose in tribute to, you know, how the actual show went, and them not needing to put in that replacement. But I wish that those elements were maybe introduced a little bit sooner, and not just like come up about halfway through the movie, as we stop focusing on the Og stuff as much as like, oh no, now there's 2 Kamen Riders, and oh no, now there's a third Kamen Rider. I did think it's a little dumb. He's like, I'm Kamen Rider Zero. Like, fuck off. Just, just call yourself a stupid fucking butterfly, man.
It was really goofy. Yeah. Like, I can excuse it just because, like, you know, it's like, it's dumb, but in like a fun way. But yeah, there's definitely more natural ways they could have like introduced some elements, like again with like Ichimonji Hayato being reporter man, like in the original show, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna investigate Shocker, I'm gonna expose them, you know? Like, if they had more time or ironed out the pacing a little more, maybe cut out one of the augments or something, like they probably could have done at least a little bit with that. But he's just a guy that gets sent out by like Ishiro. It's like, hey, go kill the other Kamen Rider, you know? Which, to be fair, again, like, it is a little more closer to the manga at that adaptation in that regard, but like, you know, there's more graceful ways of handling it. You have creative freedom here. Like, also, before I forget, speaking of like butterfly augments, that fucking like throne room they have for him, like, that's straight up like just a Shin Megami Tensei like set piece. Like,
yeah. It felt very JRPG villain, I agree.
Yeah, like, this is just straight up, like, you could have put this in, like, Nocturne or something, I wouldn't have batted an eye, like...
I did think the strands that connected him to the device were pretty cool.
Yeah, like, it didn't help that, again, they were talking about fucking Prana and the habitat zone and all that bullshit, too. I'm like, this is some fucking SMT bullshit right now that's going on. I was not really coming into this movie, like, expecting that. Like,
what's the habitat realm? That's the proper name for it, because I'm like, it's not zone, it's realm. But
yeah,
same thing, honestly.
Yeah. Also, really, other tangent, like, I feel like the subtitles for, like, the translation in this movie, sometimes it's a little, I want to say off, like...
I'm happy you brought that up, because I almost forgot. I think it's really dumb that they don't just call him fucking Kamen Rider. Anyone buying a ticket to see this movie called Shin Kamen Rider... understand that it technically is Masked Rider, but like it's fucking Kamen Rider. Come.
Yeah, like they already figured this shit out way back when they had Kamen Rider Dragon Knight in like 2009. Like they already decided, yeah, like we're just gonna call him Kamen Rider in the West, not Masked Rider. Who cares about Masked Rider and Furbus or whatever the fuck that stupid animal in the American adaptation of Black RX was.
This is a thing that I have with a lot of Fathom releases, Fang. As of late, they feel really like specific in particular with how they translate some of their subtitle stuff or whatever. I saw Godzilla Tokyo SOS earlier this year. And that is a sequel to another movie called Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla. And in that version of Mechagodzilla is called Kiryu. But I guess that when that movie originally came out and like the North American release happened, a bunch of Godzilla fans were like, "Oh, that's stupid. Why are they calling him Kiryu all the time as Mechagodzilla?" So I guess because of that dumb like early 2000s backlash, they felt the need to translate Kiryu in that Fathom release of the sequel movie, Godzilla Tokyo SOS, by calling him Mecha G, and it's like they're saying fucking Kiryu. They're not calling him Mecha G. It was so stupid. But Fathom does that quite a bit from my experience, where it's like, what are you doing? Don't do that. I wish that they went through and maybe got some more eyes on that, because it just feels off. And like, again, I'm happy that they exist and are able to like do these events and like have these limited theatrical releases for stuff we otherwise would have no hope of fucking getting.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But like,
definitely.
And I think there's room for improvement with some of the translation stuff.
Yeah, there's especially like, I think there were like phrases in like I think it was like the Scorpion augment fights that like there was some choice lines like yikey spiky or something like that. Like,
yeah, that felt like they were going for something that didn't quite work.
Yeah, there's definitely something in translation that got lost that like I don't know. Like, I don't know, like obviously I'm no linguist, I'm no Japanese expert or anything like that, so I don't know the original context of like the dialogue in the movie, but that doesn't there has to be something better.
It didn't feel right.
Yeah. Yeah, like there has to be something else you could have done here. Yeah.
Yeah, I know this is, I guess, my last point, but it was something I posted on Twitter, but there is a point in the movie where right at the beginning where there's a car chase with a Honda Accord that was specifically the generation of Honda Accord that the late Ultraman episode director Akio Jisoji liked a lot, and he apparently was a major influence on Anno's live-action directorial style, and they had like a mutual like respect for each other's art. Like Jisoji apparently was like a huge Evangelion guy too, and he passed away. I want to say it was quite a while ago, but in tribute to him, Anno included his favorite car in a car chase in this movie. But then I had the experience of knowing the context of why that car was there. In an Anno-directed reboot of Kamen Rider, while Lotus Juice played in the background. And I was just like, I feel like all of my media consumption in the past like decade and a half of my life was leading up to this particular scene and having the full, complete understanding of why this is happening. And it's really fucking weird, but I was just in a moment of like solid appreciation where I felt validated for being the guy who is like anal about having context for everything, because that just was magical.
True serendipity.
Yeah, honestly. I was in my happy place hard.
Fucking Lotus Juice. How did Lotus Juice get onto the soundtrack?
Lotus Juice just shows up sometimes. Just like a little crumb of Lotus Juice will make his way into shit you're watching or playing or whatever. It's just like, oh yeah, there's our man. Squeezy trigger.
Thanks, Taku Iwasaki. Thanks for this. I guess my last point is that like there is an ongoing Shin Kamen Rider prequel manga that details the backstory and motivations of shocker characters. Specifically, Ichiro is the main protagonist, and I've been caught up to it. However many chapters there have been so far, which is I think 17, and oh boy, if they ever wants to dive into like the ideas they had in this movie in that manga to a more fulfilling extent, I am anticipating when it gets more developed, because they are bringing back all like the ideas that they didn't expand upon too much, like the fucking AI stuff. Like I think I posted in like another channel in Discord like the fucking panels of like a government dude going like, haha, AI, that's stupid, like it can only play like fucking Breakout and like some Like, that's what they're afraid of, which I'm like, oh, this is some relevant stuff right here. Like,
There's like an SD Shin Kamen Rider beat 'em up for Switch or something too that people apparently like, right? I think I saw that was a thing.
yeah, this does exist. I know nothing about it other than it's SD Shin Kamen Rider. Like, when was the last time they did an SD Kamen Rider thing? Like, I feel like that's like a revival that Anno specifically requested. Like, yeah, I need this shit back. Like,
Does that have an English? Is it one of those things where if you import it, it has an English translation?
SD Shin Kamen. I wanna say maybe.
Because I might pick that up if that's the case.
Oh fuck me! It's on Steam.
What? Okay.
Yeah, it's just on Steam. Wait, no, it's not. Wait, shit, it's region locked. Fuck. Why?
Damn. Foiled.
Why are you
Foiled
doing
again.
this to me, Firefox? Ugh. Like, the description of the game and the title is in English, though, from what I see. So, like, yeah, English, it exists. I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know how you would download it off of Steam, which region, but you could do that, or you can import one or the other. Like, yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up all of my thoughts on Shin Kamen Rider. I'd give it the old college 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like, there was good attempt, needed more time to cook. I think just see, I feel like with these like Shin adaptations, and granted I haven't seen Shin Godzilla or Shin Ultraman, which I should at some point. I really do want to get to those at some point, but like, it does sound like it doesn't help that like Shin Godzilla was adapting like a movie first thing that was designed and formatted as a movie versus Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider, which are full fucking TV series, you know.
Yeah. They definitely,
Like,
both of them definitely struggle with that, I feel. Ultraman, I think, did a better job by incorporating less stuff. They picked 3 episodes and were like, God damn it, we're gonna do those. Shin Kamen Rider was like, we're gonna put like fucking 7 guys in here, and maybe too many.
Yeah, too many guys. You need less guys. Like, also real shame they didn't bring back Cobra Man.
Our boy, he could have been burning people alive.
He could have, but no, they just
didn't get a
mentioned him at the
barrier
end.
breaking soccer ball.
Yeah, what the fuck? No. I forgot. I fucking forgot we were joking about that.
How could you forget about the greatest episode of Tokusatsu I've ever seen?
The greatest episode, right? Like, that, you know what? Like, yeah, cut out Scorpion Og, cut out, like, Lost Og. Like, we need space for that. We need a space for fucking dinosaur, whatever I don't even remember what, like, animal, like, he was supposed to be.
I don't either, it's been too long.
All I know is this, stupid soccer monster. Like, like, Soccer Augment 1. Like, where is that adaptation, Anno? Like, holy shit. Maybe he'll appear in the manga.
Maybe someday.
One can hope.
But yeah, I've said my piece on Shin Kamen Rider.
Yeah, I think my final word on it is that it's insane to me how, like, Anno did not have any restraint for, like, the content or editing or anything like that when it comes, like, to story, and yet, they had enough restraint to only say henshin once in the entire film. And not even from, like, the double riders. From, like, the bad guy. Like, insane amount of restraint. for no particular reason. I don't understand. Anyways, that was Shin Kamen Rider. That was a film
Shin
experience.
I'm going to try my best to edit through that backlog in a timely manner, and we should get back to watching Kamen Rider, because I think it'd be good if we wrap that up.
It would be good, and that's all on you, because I'm just here for the ride.
That is literally all on me. That's my problem. It is my problem.
Yep. Sure is.
All right. See you, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.